All right, welcome to the Books, Beards, Booze podcast, where we drink booze, have beards, and talk books. I'm Bob of TalesbyBob.com.
And I'm Derek from the Milky Way.
And this week, we're tackling They're Made of Meat, which is a classic story. Each week we bring you a number of features, a drink recipe, a little bit of debate, a little bit of news, a little bit of this and that. And let's start things off with talking about our drink recipe for this week. With a story like They're Made of Meat, we had to go with something meat flavored. And we settled on bacon-infused whiskey. But not just like go to the store, bacon-infused whiskey, like make it yourself. Which we haven't done yet.
Which is hilarious because are we ever going to do this?
Yo, no. I almost bought the stuff to do this today, but I just had too much going on. Yeah. But soon, we're doing this.
That's fair.
But here's how you do it. You put 3 strips of crisp, but not burned bacon into a pint-sized mason jar. Fill it with the whiskey of your choice and let it sit for 12 hours. Then you put it in the freezer overnight. The next day, take a funnel and run the whiskey through a coffee filter till all the fat has been caught. Then you repeat again to clear up any lingering discolorations. And apparently at that point you have whiskey-infused, or bacon-infused whiskey. Which sounds amazing.
Does it though?
It does. And you know what? After we make the first batch, we're going to make it with Crown Maple, the second batch. Because I want to have...
Yeah, because you got to try it without the maple flavor and then with the maple flavor.
Yeah. I want breakfast in a drink, basically. But yeah.
I want to brush my teeth with it. I want to... Never mind. I'm not going to go into that.
But anyway, so each week, like I said, we bring you a number of features, and the first one we tackle every week is our News and Booze segment. And first of all, let's talk about what we're drinking. We actually just left Pies and Pints, probably our favorite restaurant in town, I would say.
Yep.
And we sampled some beers. We'll get into that until a later episode. We'll talk about that when we get there. But so we've got a little buzz going already. And keeping it going, I'm having a screwdriver with 3 olives vodka.
I'm not, because I'm exhausted and have about 4 hours of sleep. So I'm drinking coffee, and then very shortly after this, I will be drinking something, apparently.
Yes, you will. It's going to be great. That's what we're sipping on. I believe you started out the news last time, so I will tackle it this time, going off first.
Cool.
My news, Tor.com is opening back up its novella submissions. It starts May 1st and will run for 2 weeks until May 15th. They will then open back up for another 2 weeks sometime in July. They wanted to really stress, though, that if you can't make the 2 periods are equal. Like, don't freak out and be like, oh my God, I've got to get it in May or they won't read it. No, May and July are equal. So they would rather you send in a polished product in July than a rushed one in May, they said. So they said that they will be considering novellas of between 20 and 40,000 words in both science fiction and fantasy genres. If it's speculative and fits the bill, we want to take a look at it, they say. The editors on it, or the readers, are going to be Lee Harris, Carl Ingle Laird, and Roxy Chen. And they say that they're really actively requesting submissions from writers from underrepresented populations. So this is a chance for people of all genders, creeds, races, to come together and really stand a fair chance of getting something read, put out there. So I actually have a novella, but there's no way I can have it polished by July with all that stuff I have going on. Well, and actually, it's not quite 20,000 words either.
Which one?
I have a Marsh novella. But this is something they do this periodically. So at some point, I want to do this. I want to submit something in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so if you're a writer out there and you want, this is a major publisher.
Kind of a big deal.
Here's your chance. There's no fees, and they're open to pretty much anything. So you should definitely check this out if trying to become a published author is what you're doing, this is a great way to get some quality credits on your list. Yeah, that was my snippet of news.
My news is going to have to go with the fact that me and Bob are dumb.
Yes.
Because
frequently, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, there was a festival in Sarasota, Florida, just last week called the Whiskey Obsession Festival.
Which, I'm not saying that we're obsessed with whiskey, but
I mean,
we do love. I mean, that's
had we gotten there, we might have become obsessed with whiskey.
I mean, like whiskey is far and away our liquor of choice.
Oh yeah,
like nothing comes close. Like the fact I'm drinking vodka right now, it's with a purpose, but it's like, oh god, man! The whole time I'm sipping this, I'm just wishing it was whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm drinking this this coffee, and I'm like, you know what? This would be a lot better if it had some Irish whiskey in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I almost went and bought some, but I was already late to.
Well, I actually went to the liquor store.
I almost asked you to, but I was like, I don't have cash, so I would just.
I stopped on my way here, and man, I was just like, well, I've already got this bottle of vodka.
I still got some Jack Daniels.
I just really didn't want to mix liquors today. Like,
yeah, you're just not feeling it.
No, I didn't want to drink whiskey now and then go to vodka later. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah. But yeah, it was. They had some some live bands playing and stuff like that. Apparently, you had to buy a ticket, but I think it was the last day they put on a live concert or something like that. That was free for anybody that wanted to come because they wanted to get the word out and spread. And hey, come check us out next time.
I was actually just at the Crawfish Festival in Gulf Shores.
I've never gone to a festival.
They can
went to Oktoberfest.
They can be
Germany,
real hit and miss.
Yeah.
This one was cool though.
Yeah, I went to Oktoberfest in Germany when I was 8, so I feel like I didn't really
you peaked.
Peaked way
early. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's something actually I would like it for us maybe here in Montgomery. They do not too long ago they did like a beer fest downtown, and I'd like for us to go there.
I know they did this beer thing that your brother Anthony goes to.
Mobile. It's a beer fest. It's a beer fest in Mobile.
I've never gone to it.
Yeah, I haven't either. Because it's always, I think it's always the weekend before Dragon Con.
Oh, is it?
I think it's something like that. It's right around the time where I'm normally.
Well, that wouldn't affect me.
Well, it's one of those things I never go because I'm always saving up for Dragon Con.
Yeah.
So it's something like that. There's a reason why I don't go, but I can't recall.
When we go to Vegas, we'll just win a whole bunch of money and then we can afford to go next year.
Yeah. No, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
That sounds fair.
Perfectly logical. It's definitely going to happen.
So last bit of news. So Derek, what's the news with Doors of Stone?
There is none. It will never be finished, and I will eternally be unhappy.
Fair enough. So our next little segment we call a chat from the Eagle and Child. Still not going to explain it. Look it up. And this is where we talk about what we're reading and what we're writing. And Derek, what have you been writing since last Friday?
Thursday. Since the last time we did a show, I wrote
I saw on your Camp Nano thing your thing had ticked up.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. But the first thing I did was I started working on my magician piece.
Oh yeah.
Which
that'll be up in a week or two.
Something like that. Yeah. I haven't finished it yet, but basically I'm coming at it from the angle of we all have those central books that really define what we like in the genre or things that we grew up enjoying and like the elements that are why we love them so much. And it's basically just me discussing why I love Magician by Raymond E. Feist so much and kind of breaking that down.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that, and then from what you saw on the Camp Nano thing, which of course we will not complete this year.
No.
Because we're terrible. But I came up with a new novel idea.
Yeah.
And have been writing...
Outlining?
Outlining,
yeah. Very cool.
So I spent a whole bunch of time on that.
We'll have to talk about that off off air.
Oh, I don't know if you get to know about it.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
But it's much more in line of like what I feel like doing. It's a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of feeling it. So
I'm with it.
Wrote a whole bunch of stuff on that. Like didn't just like plan like a lot of have most of the story already planned out.
Okay.
So
I mean,
that was kind of fun. I got super caffeinated at work on Monday night and just kind of went. And just kept writing stuff. Yeah.
It's fair.
That's what I've been writing this. I think that's all I've been writing. I think I started one other review or something like that. Maybe not a review, another article for the blog. But since I can't remember what it is right now, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah. If you're curious about these blogs, they're all at booksbeardsbooze.wordpress.com. What I've been writing, it's Camp NaNoWriMo season, and I think we talked about last time how it was just a week of apathy overtook both of us the same week and nothing got done.
Weird.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I've gotten back on the horse, and I cranked out 3,000 words in 3 days. So, which considering how things were going, that's
significant.
That was good. There was a lot going on during that time, but. I got to write, it was basically 2 chapters on the book I'm working on now, Blightborn, and I got to write a really creepy scene, or what I hope will be, to the readers, a very creepy scene. And I like writing creepy kind of horror-y type stuff. So, got to write about a 1,000-word scene of that, so I was pretty tickled.
I feel like we need to kind of get you to write some more, like, fantasy horror genre kind of stuff.
You know, I actually on Reddit I put up a request that I was like, I don't know that I've ever really read any fantasy horror.
Well, I don't even necessarily mean fantasy horror. I mean fantasy stories with a very strong horror subplot.
Yeah.
Or not even subplot, but theme.
Yeah.
No. We'll talk about that off later.
Oh yeah. D, what have you been reading?
I'm still reading Eyes of God by
John Marco.
I should probably finish that in the next week or so. But now I'm going to be splitting time between...
Italian Revenant.
Yeah.
If you missed it somehow, we're doing our first read-along of a novel starting May 1st, and it's Italian Revenant by Michael A. Stackpole. So you have until May 1st to acquire a copy of it. We have links on the blog that'll take you straight to it, Kindle or print version of it. It's one of my all-time favorite books. Dee's never read it. And so, I'm going to get started on that a couple days before. We haven't decided yet. We will post about it. We'll let y'all all know what the first kind of assignment, like how many chapters. I think it's 24 chapters, and we just got to decide how many a week we're going to try and tackle here.
But I might start. Obviously, I'm probably going to read it beforehand because we need to have articles written for stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll be ahead of y'all.
Yeah, we'll be ahead of you guys because we want to have articles coming out so that we can discuss things with you as we're getting finished, and it takes time to actually write this stuff.
Yeah.
But the book came in today, and I just read the back of it while we were sitting here getting ready to start the podcast. And I was like, oh, so it has like all the best elements of things ever.
Yes.
In it. Yeah. So I'm excited now. So except for the dude's name is Nolan. It's kind of a weak name.
Nolan Ryan?
Yeah, he's the only badass Nolan. He gets the name. It's his. No one else can have it.
You know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Any Nolans out there, we're sorry. Nolan Ryan beat you to it.
Yeah. And he beat you like he beat that dude that charged the mound. Anyways.
I wouldn't charge the mound.
Nope.
I wouldn't charge the mound on him today.
No.
I mean, he's got to be in his, 60s now?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Probably wrangling cattle still or something.
Yeah. I actually had a signed baseball by him.
Yeah.
I finished the trilogy of John Marco books. I was reading the Tyrant and Kings series. There's a review coming up on it in a week or two that you'll be able to read. But more importantly, I read The Curse of Chalian. Oh, god damn it. Sorry. I read The Curse of Chalian by, oh god, what is her name? Bujold is her last name. it blew my mind that I'd never even heard of this woman. And she's won Hugos and Nebulas and this and that and this and that. Yeah, I see why now. The Curse of Chalian is great. If you like the Goblin Emperor, if you like anything fantasy that matters, she is amazing. So Curse of Chalian, I'll be writing a review of it in the next couple of days to post up. It's great.
The only thing I don't like about the fact that you enjoyed that so much is now I kind of want to read it, but I've got way too many other things to read that I don't have time to add that to. Maybe I can add to the end of the list. But
yeah, it's a quicker read.
Probably like Goblin Emperor.
Yeah.
That was
the cool thing, I bought the Kindle version of it, and the Kindle Fire I have now, it tells you an estimated how long till you're finished, like how many hours.
Yeah, just based on the...
It estimated a 10-hour read. So, yeah. So, that was really good. Anything else you want to add on that?
No.
Reading and writing? All right. Well, this week's episode is brought to you, in our mind, by the Whistle Stop Cafe. Swing through the small town of Whistle Stop, Alabama, and try their scrumptious food. Not to be missed are their fried green tomatoes, their signature dish. But they also have some of the tastiest pork barbecue in the state. Law enforcement officers, be sure to ask about Big George's pork plate special. All right. If you would like to be our sponsor, instead of us having to make them up, get at us. You can email us at bookspiritsbooze@gmail.com. So now we get to dive into the meat of the episode with our short story Tall Glass. And we like to start it out by discussing, I do the research on the history of the person who wrote the story. So here we go. Terry, I'm going to mispronounce this. I always mispronounce everything. I feel like I do.
Yeah, you probably do.
Terry Bisson or Terry Bisson? What do you think? Terry Bisson? Terry Bisson? What's more fun to say?
Where is he from?
Kentucky.
Bisson.
Terry Bisson is 76, having been born in 1942 in Kentucky. Southern boy. Well, what? While a student at Grinnell College, which is in Iowa, in 1961, Bisson was one of a group of 12 students who traveled to Washington, D.C. during the Cuban Missile Crisis, supporting John F. Kennedy's peace race. That peace race was in quote fingers. Kennedy invited the group into the White House, and this was the first time protesters had ever been recognized as such. And while there, they met for several hours with McGeorge Bundy, who I don't know who he is, but seemingly important. The group received wide press coverage, and this event is regarded as the start of the student peace movement. All right. By 1981, 20 years later, he was writing for a living. That's the dream. In 1996, he wrote comic adaptations of Nine Princes in Amber and The Guns of Avalon, which are famous books by Roger Zelazny.
Oh, yes.
Roger Zelazny.
Okay.
In 97, he completed writing St. Leibowitz and the Wild Horsewoman, which was the unfinished sequel to A Canticle for Leibowitz, which, if I recall, you haven't even heard of.
No.
It's a classic of... it's post-apocalyptic, sci-fi goodness. After Canticle for Leibowitz's author died in 96. He's written a ton of stuff, from Star Wars novels to movie novelizations. He's best known, though, probably, for his short story Bears Discover Fire, which won the Hugo and Nebula Award. He's also known for They're Made of Meat, which gets shared all over the internet, as it should. Because it's great and it's short. I can imagine this...
Pretty confident I read this years ago.
I had a couple people tell me, oh yeah, I've read this. Yeah. So, yeah. So...
There's no way we've been on RR and did not find or read this.
So, before we dive into the discussion, we each try and bring an interesting fact to the table. In some way, tangentially related to the story. So, Derek, how about you start us off?
My fact was, recently, when we first read this, I was looking around on the internet, and I found an article talking about a service that was going to be started up in Washington, and didn't actually look to see if they meant DC or the state, because I'm on top of things.
You are killing me.
Yeah, I'm the best. I'm totally on top of things this week. But it's essentially a delivery box of meat.
It's like Blue Apron, but just meat.
I mean, you pay them X amount per month, and they send you a box. I think it's either 3 or 5 pounds of meat per month, and they just go wild, like just steaks, different kinds of sausages.
I would happily pay to have 5 pounds of sausage delivered to my house every week.
And it's locally sourced.
So
like
it would probably be like Kelly's or Conecuh.
Well, no, I mean it'd be like from.
Oh, like a small farm?
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking Kelly's and Conecuh are local.
Oh, well, then maybe it would be some of it then. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I wish we had one. But apparently it's the first of its type in the nation. And like I said, it's in one of the Washingtons, and I
gotta say, Meat Box is...
I don't think that's the name of it, but I can't remember the name of it because I lost my first rundown sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my notes.
Oops.
So that's why I was sitting here going,
here's my recommendation. Everyone, right now, go to Google and search Meat Box.
Don't do that.
Nothing bad will come of that. But yeah, so it's, I'd get that Meat Box.
Yeah, dog.
Word. Alright, so, here's my fact. This story was originally published in Omni Magazine, which I have heard of, but didn't really know shit about. So I was like, let me look it up. Alright, it ran from 1978 to 1995 in print form. In 96, it switched to online, but it ended in 97 when its co-founder, Kathy Keaton, died. Died of a surgery, I think. Something like that. She was, if I remember correctly, she was married to the, head of Penthouse. Or something, not Larry Flint, but, I get, someone in Penthouse. But the initial concept, this is a quote, came from Keaton, who wanted a magazine that explored all realms of science and the paranormal, that delved into all corners of the unknown, and projected some of those discoveries into fiction. So it wasn't a fiction magazine. It did have some fiction, but it would have interviews with scientists and astronomers and stuff. But it would do some paranormal stuff as well. Besides this story, it also published such stories as Burning Chrome and Johnny Mnemonic. I can never say it. Yeah, by William Gibson.
That's cool.
So, yeah. And also some of the other people that it published: Stephen King, George R.R. Martin, Orson Scott Card. It also had a lot of art and it introduced a lot of painters, like Geiger.
Oh.
So yeah, and kind of brought a lot of names to the fore. Obviously, it didn't bring Stephen King or Orson Scott Card or George R.R. Martin to the fore, but it was just another kind of showing you the quality of stuff that the fiction they were putting out. In 2016 or something like that, they started trying to bring it back, and in 2017 they really started bringing it back, and Penthouse is doing it. So I think it's quarterly now. So I haven't checked it out.
That's kind of
cool. Yeah, it's something I plan to give a look to.
Yeah, I'm not curious about.
Yeah, it sounds intriguing, like fiction plus science plus paranormal.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. All right, so let's chat about it. This is a short read, so can't be just a ton to say, but God, it was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I really, really enjoyed it.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that I've read multiple times, and it's the kind of thing that when I come across it, I'm perfectly fine with just sitting there and reading it again. Yeah. I mean, it takes 5-10 minutes time.
Oh yeah, it's a super quick read, but every time, it's like...
And you just kind of chuckle the whole time.
Yeah, because it's a very real conversation.
Yeah.
Like it, I have had this conversation with people about different topics, but like, no, dude, you're not listening to what I'm saying, you know. Yeah, I chuckled immensely at it. Especially considering how heavy next week's story is and how heavy the previous week's story was. This was a welcome breath of fresh air. Yeah. Because wow, it's heavy bookends on this one. It's also the first sci-fi that we've done on here. It's a lot harder to find good free sci-fi than good free, more classic literature. I've discovered. But this was also how we came across this one. Our graphic design, the third member of our team, Bells, she was like, oh, when I kind of told her the brief synopsis of what Books, Beards, Booze was all about, she's like, oh, well, one of your first stories has got to be They're Made of Meat. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And so
and then we realized, oh, wait, no, we know this.
Yeah, I could, I have some older relatives that for a while there, I kept getting wrangled into their email chains, and it was a whole bunch of, political conspiracy theory kind of stuff. I was like, ugh, this is awful.
Oh, that sounds amazing now.
No, the worst, not smart stuff, no, just stupid stuff.
No, I know, now that sounds fantastic.
Oh, no,
I just look at it and go,
awful.
What?
It's awful. It's like, oh, God, I'm losing respect for my family.
It's those gosh darn lizard people.
Yeah. But if they would have been emailing stuff like this around, I feel like early days of the internet, this was probably emailed around a lot more. And now it's like, why can't we get back to that? You know,
people just emailing full stories. Ain't nobody got time to read full stories, Bob. We got We got to read Twitter.
Hey, Twitter's getting there. 240 characters now, I think, or 280 or something like that.
Yeah, dog, and I use every fucking one of them. I'm not even gonna lie. You know how frustrating it's like. I can almost say that thing that I want to say, but I'm 15 characters too long. And I gotta look at it and go, damn it, I'm a writer. I can figure out how to make the same sentiment work with a couple of less words.
Not you.
Less? Yeah, of course I can.
You wordy fuck.
I am...
Derek has a slight reputation as being a little verbose in his writing at times.
We're not getting... Anyways, let's just focus on the short story.
Moving on.
The story, it's a lot of fun. I mean, for those of you who, for some reason, haven't read it, it's a conversation between two aliens addressing their... examining... Not really examining, but discussing their first contact, kind of, with
They're investigating Earth.
Investigating, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, Earth has sent out these radio waves, they've picked up on it, they've come back, and they've realized, holy shit, they're made of meat. And, apparently, in this setting, we're the only things made of meat. Everything else out there, meat is very vulgar.
Yeah.
And so they, we want nothing to do with this. And you know what? Having met a lot of humans, can't blame them.
I mean, look, who do I hang out with the most, Bob?
Me.
I don't even like you.
Fair. That's very understandable. Very understandable.
But no, I mean, again, if you haven't read it,
take 5 minutes and read the story.
It's hilarious. It's just fun.
There's not a lot of deeper themes going on here.
No.
It's just, I think the coolest thing that it does is it creates it's a very great example of realistic dialogue. The dialogue feels real.
Yeah.
And even though it's a super silly topic, it feels real. It's well done. It's well crafted. This gets shared around a lot for a reason. And, I mean, there's not a lot of depth to it, but not all literature has to be deep.
It does not.
You know? Sometimes just enjoy it for what it is. So.
And what it is hilarious.
And what it is hilarious. So, what was your favorite line?
My favorite line was when they were talking about the fact they could not believe that humans were made of meat. And they were like, well, how do they talk? And they go through how every sound that we make sounds like meat slapping or something like that. So my favorite line was, they can even sing by squirting air through their meat. I was like, oh my god, that's a terrible mental image. It's like, what the hell, man?
Yeah. Y'all should, when you're searching for meat box, you should follow that up with a search for squirting air through your meat.
Don't do that.
My favorite line was, imagine how unbearably, how unattainably, imagine how unbearably, how unutterably cold the universe would be if one were all alone. And
immediately after, they just decide, we're not going to talk to him. We're going to pretend we don't hear him.
Yeah, he's like, oh, can you imagine how awful that would be? Yeah, we're not going to talk to them.
Screw those guys.
We're going to sentence them to that fate. It's like, oh.
Thanks a lot, you ass hats.
One of my favorite things I've ever heard said, and I repeat it fairly often, is the surest sign that there's intelligent life out there in the universe is that they haven't visited us.
I don't want to get into this because I get really annoyed.
No, we're gonna briefly dive into this topic,
okay,
very briefly, because this episode's a little on the shorter side, so we got the room.
Well, look, here's the thing. I get really annoyed. Well, not really annoyed, but why do we just assume that if we find something, it's going to be smarter than us? Why is that immediately we jump to?
Yeah.
Why do we?
Well, I guess the assumption is if it gets here. Because it had the smarts to...
That's the whole thing. Is
we
people
can't figure out how to get there.
Okay, that's fair, but here's the thing. If we think that there's life out there, and we're like, well, then why hasn't it come here? Maybe because it's not as far along as we are. Maybe we're going to have to go to them.
I mean, theoretically, we could be the most advanced thing in the universe.
We could have been just happened to be the first.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be the first, right?
Yeah, it could be us.
So it could have been us.
Could have been us.
And I don't feel like that's... My experience with sci-fi is practically non-existent.
Yeah, I've read a bunch.
But I feel like that's not a thing. Or at least...
I'll say this. There's one. John Scalzi's Old Man's War.
Yeah.
I
follow him on Twitter.
Really good books, by the way. You should read them. If you like military sci-fi, which I do, his is kind of a smarter military sci-fi, like more of a thinking man. Not to say that people who read military sci-fi are dumb, because it's my favorite genre of sci-fi, but
I think
it's
a
little more
hard sci-fi.
It's a little more. Fuck hard sci-fi. It's a little more cerebral.
I wasn't expecting that from you.
No, I don't like hard sci-fi.
Really?
No, man. I don't want to have a degree in particle physics to understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, like I enjoy world building. I love world building. One of my favorite hobbies. That said, I don't want to have a degree to understand somebody's world. Like magic. You know what? I don't need to know in depth how the magic works, why the magic works. I just need to know that it works.
And the rules. Okay.
And fundamentally, sufficiently advanced technology is no different from magic. So I don't know, man. I don't enjoy reading lengthy diatribes about the approach angle on this gravity well. Like, that doesn't interest me. Military sci-fi, though, I love. I love military sci-fi. I love space opera.
Space opera. The only... I mean...
Deathstalker.
It's the only stuff I've read for the most part.
Deathstalker's great. I actually... I've got the first book on my Kindle. I almost started reading it today.
It's fun.
It'd be a reread.
I'll get distracted if I start looking at that, because I'll end up wanting to read a whole bunch of it.
Yeah, that's the main reason I didn't, is because I was afraid I'd start reading it and I want to read the next 3 or 4. And I'm trying to do some standalone stuff right now.
Yeah.
But no, Old Man's War. Humans are not the most advanced, but they're kind of on up there.
Okay.
There's one race that's like light years beyond everybody, like everybody. But then it's like humans are in like the top 2 or 3.
Top 1%.
Yeah. So and Scalzi does some really fun things with that.
Yeah.
Like the overall.
Have you ever read any other Scalzi? I've never read any Scalzi, but I know of him, and I don't even remember how I know him.
Scalzi. They talk about him all the time on writing excuses. Yeah.
That would explain that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, because deservedly so. Old Man's War is really good, and if read that one.
Yeah,
they're all good, but just read the first book.
I might add that to my list.
It's fairly standalone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, really good. So, since you have a second, aliens, are they real? No, it's a 2-part question. 1, is there life out there? Intelligent life out there in the universe? Part B, has it visited Earth?
Yes and no.
I'm going to agree with you there.
Yeah.
To me, space is too vast for it, not like statistically speaking. There has to be intelligent life out there. Has it visited here? No, I just don't think so. At least, like, if it has, not in the way that all these UFO sightings. Like, if they're smart enough to have gotten here, they're smart enough to evade our rudimentary detection, I feel like. So, unless space is far more populated than I'm anticipating, and there are the equivalent of high school aliens, like coming to Earth as a make-out point. Yeah, for spring break, there's no way.
Yeah, well, I have no strong opinions either way.
Yeah, it's not something I'm passionate about. But
no, unlike ghosts,
ghosts are real.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like we've kind of tackled it. I mean, it's a short story, not a ton to say.
Yeah.
So let's dive into this week's book battle. This should be fun. I'm looking forward to this. The question is, who is the best anti-hero?
Vegeta, done.
Never watched Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball.
John
or
Wick,
Z.
done.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was thinking.
Man, John Wick. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's a super good anti-hero.
Yeah, he might be my favorite currently. But we'll stay within the realm of...
It is called book battle.
Yeah, we'll stay...
Not
movie
battle.
I remembered the one that I remembered.
Oh, yeah.
And then immediately forgot again because I'm an idiot. Locke Lamora is my favorite anti-hero. Because he's not doing good things for good reasons.
Yeah. I can.
He's my favorite. Yeah, probably.
So is that your pick?
Mm-hmm.
Locke Lamora.
Yeah. For those of you who have not read The Lives of Locke Lamora,
he's.
I looked up the definition just to be sure that he would count, and he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
loosely,
yeah.
He's a little on the good side.
I mean, you want me to come up with another one?
No. I mean, your choice is your choice.
Yeah, I would still say him.
Yeah.
I'll keep thinking just in case. But no, if you haven't read Lives of Locke Lamora, it's a brilliant book. And I specifically say that book because that book is brilliant. The ones after it are good.
I'll get around to read them. All right, so if you had asked me this question a week, 2 weeks ago, my number one would have been a different answer. My number one is now my number 2. I did my top 3.
You just cannot
totally just kick the table.
To the damn question.
No, dude. I'm always going to have more.
Well, then just change the question to top 3 anti-heroes.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you who's the best anti-hero. That's the question. I'm going to answer that.
What's...
I'm answering the unasked question of who's 2 and 3 as well. All right, so I'm going to go from 3 to 1. Number 3 is actually my favorite character of all of them, but I'm not really sure if you can describe him as an anti-hero. But Jorg Ankrath.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to say yes, he does qualify.
I thought he was going to be 1.
No. Because he's a bad man. He's a very, very bad man. For those who don't know, Jorg Ankrath is the main character of the Broken Empire trilogy by Mark Lawrence, which I think is arguably the best fantasy written in the past 10 years outside of Kingkiller.
For those who couldn't see that, which is all of you, he said the best fantasy as I was drinking my coffee and I just stopped and looked at him.
Cut me a look.
And he said...
Yeah, outside of Kingkiller.
And then I kept drinking.
I actually enjoy it more than King Killer, though. I enjoy it far more. King Killer's better written, but man, Broken Empire, especially the later books, son. Anyway, but Jorg he doesn't really achieve anti-hero status until like the last 10 pages of the book. Because arguably...
the first book?
No, of the trilogy.
Oh, really?
Because arguably he's never a hero. He just, at the end, kind of does something that's like, oh, you know what?
I give it to you.
I'll throw you... yeah.
It's kind of how I felt about him in the first book. Because he was being a douche the whole time. But I feel like the thing he did at the end of the first book, which I can't even remember what it was, but I seem to remember going, oh, that's kind of a good thing. And they were like, yeah, it was kind of a good thing. And then you get into his head and he's like, screw people. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, all right.
But yeah, Jorg Ankrath is amazing. Definitely read those books. Number 2, Raven of the Black Company.
Okay, I don't know who's number 1 then.
It's like I said, you wouldn't have until like a week ago. But number 2 is Raven. Raven in the first book, basically Raven is a very terrible person. At one point you get the feeling that he was maybe not a good person, maybe not a bad person. He was just a official of the Empire.
He's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's the guy. Shout out to my wrestle fans out there who hate Roman Reigns. Continue.
But he clearly not a nice guy, and he gets screwed over real bad and is a very, very bad man. And he goes around, kills a few folks, and is generally the most badass person in the Black Company for a book. But he becomes...
I like how you say for a book.
Well, because he deserts.
Yeah.
In the first book. He becomes the warder of a small child. And then he does some absolutely terrible things in the second book. But it's all for her. It's all for Darling. He does some very mercenary acts, but for a good cause. And in the third book, he kind of tries to redeem himself a little bit, but it's kind of a little too... there's a lot going on there. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but he's the best anti-hero. Like, he does bad things, but for a very good reason. Or second best anti-hero. Alright, number 1 now. Count Biago, or Biagio. I don't know how you say it. I'm going to say Count Biago, of the Tyrants and Kings trilogy by John Marco. Theoretically, this trilogy...
Hashtag recency bias.
No, I'm going to say... No, I mean, you there is something to that. But Count Biago stole this... Like, I feel like John Marco set out writing this trilogy to be about Richie Svantron.
And then realized...
oh my God, no. Count Biago is such a more intriguing character.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see his arc over the 3 books. Like, he starts out evil as evil can be. And by the second book, you kind of come to realize that there's an insanity that's been put upon him. He's still not a nice guy, but he's insane. So he gets a little bit of a pass, kind of, sort of. Mm-hmm. And then by the third book, he's kicked his insanity habit. As weird as that sounds. But it's what happens. And he's still not a nice guy, but he's still a master manipulator, political animal, but he's doing things for the right reason, finally. Like, he's not doing it out of a twisted sense of love. He's not doing things, because of insanity. He's doing it because this is what's going to save the most lives. So even though it's some kind of fucky shit at times, it's for a good cause. So that's why he's the best, because to me, he had the most growth. Like, Jorg Ankrath doesn't have a ton of growth. He has some growth, not a ton. Raven, debatable, but Count Biago, very clear growth, really well done. To me, he is the best anti-hero that comes to mind?
There's we had a conversation off air about the Remedy Feist books.
Yes.
The ones that Pig really likes, that we looked up, I can't remember the names of.
The one with the piss.
You know the one I'm talking about, though.
Yes. The fox up with the fox.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yes.
The main bad guy of the first one.
Oh yeah, he becomes the.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. I liked him. It was interesting. He was the main villain in the first book, and then like halfway through the second book, he kind of becomes a viewpoint character and kind of redeems himself and becomes a member of the... It's an interesting thing that happens. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well, it's like in Tyrants and Kings, and here's some spoilers, so if you think you're going to read it, you might tune out for the next minute or so. But, I mean, he starts out in the first book, Viago is the number 2 guy in the Empire, and at the end of the first book, the Emperor dies, but doesn't declare an heir. So the second book is him versus the other, like the number 3 guy, wrangling over who's going to become the Emperor, and he does some heinous shit to get what he wants, and he at the end of it he becomes the Emperor. But in the process, he realized, holy shit, I'm insane. Like, this is not good. So in the third book, he's now the Emperor and is trying to redeem his image, but no one believes him. He's been such an evil person for so long that no one believes that he's turned good.
Yeah.
So he's doing good things, but everyone just assumes... Like, he's actually doing good things, but everyone assumes he's doing it for the wrong reasons. But he's not. And it's fun. I enjoyed it.
No, I'm thinking about it. Guy Dubas Tyra from the Rift War saga, he was kind of an anti-hero. Like, they set him up for like 3 books to be like the counterpoint to Bork, the Duke of Cryde, and he's like his rival. He's like the best general in the country, but he's a terrible person. He's the enemy of like the family that the books are all but based around. You only get their perspective of him for 3 books. You're like, oh, screw that guy. He's the worst. He's the worst. Then you meet him, and he's like, that's what you think? No. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
And then he explains it, and you're like, oh, you're still kind of a dick because you like did some bad stuff, but like, oh, that makes way more sense now.
Yeah.
And I like those kind of characters. So
yeah,
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, he's not a huge character in the story. Like, he's there, and he if you were the full 4,
yeah.
right?
And
he's the guy that was in charge of that big city that ends up getting attacked by the Dark Elves and all that shit. It was cool. I like it.
But yeah, so that's my 3, and you're 1. Yep. Just go ahead. Just heads up. I'm always going to give multiple answers. I can't
do it. Yeah.
All right. So let's. Anything you want to add on the book battle?
No.
All right. So let's dive into our viewer mail. So this week we have a few comments. All right. So this week I did a post about my love of Heaven Hill whiskey, and got a few comments. One, our good buddy Shay Allison said, in my opinion, in the Pepsi versus Coke mixer debate, I prefer it with Pepsi, even though I can't stand Pepsi by itself.
He was right about the first part, wrong about the second.
Well, I'm a Coke guy.
You're wrong about that.
I'm not a Pepsi. Pepsi's too sweet. For me, Pepsi's too sweet. I will both agree and disagree with this argument. I think Coke... Alright. Pepsi consumes more of the taste of whiskey. Coke, while consuming a lot of the taste of whiskey, I feel also kind of accents it, depending on the whiskey. That said, if I'm eating sausage, which if I'm drunk, I'm frequently eating sausage, Kelly's or Kaneka, sponsor us, Coke does not taste good with a spicy sausage. And so I prefer then, if I'm going to be eating a spicy sausage, I would rather mix with Pepsi.
So here's the thing. The way I look at it is Coke, what makes Coke arguably, and this is a debate that I don't agree with, if you wanted to say Coke was better than Pepsi,
because it is.
It's not. What makes Coke better is the more acidic bite, like the special quality, like
that tang
to it, which, first of all, if you're drinking whiskey, it's going to have a tang to it, so you don't want to...
That's how I say it.
I get that, but at the same time, if you're going to drink it, that kind of defeats the purpose to me, because you're mixing the tang together, so you're not going to get the full effect.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to just mix with a smooth something, which is why I like Cokes. Here's the thing. The reason I like Pepsi more than Coke is because it's consistent. Coke has a special quality to it that I like it every so often, because if I drank it all the time, that bite, I feel like it's going to get old.
Okay.
So I like to keep it.
You're wrong, but okay.
I'm right, but it's fine.
Our second comment was from our good buddy Matt Nixon. He said, Heaven Hill is good. I'll even drink it neat. Usually I drink it on the rocks with a splash of water. I love Heaven Hill. I don't drink it neat. I have, but I don't prefer to. That said,
you'll shoot it.
I'll do shots all day.
Yeah.
But it's got to be ice cold. It's
Yeah.
good ice cold, like straight from the freezer. It's good. If it's room temperature,
what's cooler than being cool?
Ice cold. All right. Anyway, but yeah, no. So shout out to those two. And I had one other comment. It wasn't on our blog. It was on my blog. But it was Los titulos deben ser atractivos para ser público alvo. That was a comment in Spanish by SEO Extremo, which I think is Search Engine Optimization Extreme in Spanish. So, thank you for that.
Let me see this.
Yeah, no,
Did you write it down?
Yeah, I wrote it down in Spanish. So, yeah.
You know I know Spanish. Why didn't you tell me this?
No Spanish is a strong.
It's very strong, but I recognize most of these words.
Is he trying to get me to buy Search Engine Optimization?
No.
Is he saying, gee, Bob, this was a really good post?
No.
Okay, well, both my guesses are wrong. But yeah, so that's our viewer mail this week. We would definitely love to hear your emails. We especially would love to hear some suggestions for book battle questions. We really like those. Comment them on the blog, booksbeardsbooze.wordpress.com, or our Twitter @booksbeardbooze, our Facebook, or you can email us, booksbeardsbooze@gmail.com. Please, shoot us something. We'll love you a long time. But we're getting more and more comments. We're getting there. So that's our viewer mail. Derek, what is our 7-word prompt for this week?
Our 7-word prompt is, write about an alien's thoughts on Earth.
Oh.
Essentially, it's in the same vein as the short story we just read. Is
what would an alien think about us?
Yeah, so create an alien race that's different than us, and then highlight the differences that you created in them by having them examine us.
This is really good, because there's especially if you want, this is a really good, if you write sci-fi, but if you write fantasy, this is a really good experiment, because a common complaint is that people write fantasy races like elves and dwarves as, it's a tall human, it's a short human.
Yeah.
This is a good chance for you to really stretch your legs and really experiment with writing a different perspective, a different viewpoint, and make it actually feel different. Make it feel not human. So, we would love to read those. Send them our way. That's all I got for this week. You got anything you want to add?
I would like to add that Pepsi's better than Coke, and Bob is wrong and I'm right.
You know, when we started this, we're like, oh God, we're going to just disagree so much.
We disagree on everything.
No, but here's the thing. We tend to disagree, our thought, oh God, we just disagree on everything writing-wise. More or less, we do kind of agree on writing stuff in general, but it's everything else in life that we disagree on. It's that's where our disagreements come from, because Coke is better.
Nope, wrong.
All right, anyway, well, that's all we got for you this week. If you want to get a jump start on our short read Tall Glass for next week, it is going to be 0 Meter Diving Team by Jim Shepard. You can find it. It's on bomb.org.
If you just search for the name of it, it's the very first.
Yeah, it'll pop up. But we will provide the link for that on Monday.
Right.
But yeah, so you can check that out. That's your little reward for listening to the podcast. You get a jump start on it. It's really good, but a little long and not super happy. But yeah, so that's all we got. So go forth and grow a great beard.